rain on a Wednesday morning, but welcome to 9 to noon. It's Nordo in for PA. Vocal maintenance days in play. And eventually we're going to get to the TimberTech set list, timbertech.com. But I can tell you part of the set list is right off the bat. He hasn't even had to move. His name is Alec Lewis, and he covers the Minnesota Vikings for The Athletic. And follow him at @Alec_Lewis. You can find the Alec Lewis Show, not just on X, but via YouTube as well. And it's a tremendous podcast, of course, related to our favorite football team. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Good to be here. The weather was terrible coming in, but it's all right.
It's hideous, but we kind of got nailed with the high heat early. And now it's kind of comfortable.
Honestly. I mean, I got to put on a hoodie today. I was pretty happy about it.
It's going to be gorgeous tomorrow, and we're just loving it. What are we loving about who'd you get in the bet?
Xander Schauffele. I was the third pick. I was very happy about that. Very happy.
Have you had some good luck lately? Didn't you have a high pick last time?
I think the first pick, I had Cam Young, but he couldn't putt
How'd that
in
go?
the PGA. Terrible.
Yeah,
it went awful. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be Venmoing Marnie Gellner $200 and asking myself, why in the world am I part of this?
It feels like it's either her or Gorg.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, Gorg, yeah. He's got the whole sheet of...
See the prep work?
Yeah. He's got...
What is it, multicolored?
He's on cardstock.
Yeah.
I'm like, where does he get this paper? Was he having to go to Office Depot? Is that still a thing?
I think he does.
100%.
Probably buys in bulk online. His highlighter game is unmatched.
Even the way he crosses out the names that are picked, it's like, it's calligraphy.
It is calligraphy. I took a summer class when I was like 8.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Everyone does. He's in his mid-50s, and he's mastered the art. It's got to be feature season, isn't it, at this point?
Absolutely.
And, as part of it, getting we talked on Friday. You were here, and then later on in the evening, while I was watching Team USA do their thing in the World Cup, I see this thing pop that Mr. Healy, Mr. Kirchner are now members of the Minnesota Vikings. Sadly, it's almost a Friday news dump in some ways. It's worthy news. This is kind of cool as Mr. Teasley continues to shape his office.
Yeah, so I got home from the radio probably around noon, and then the phone started going a little bit, and I knew that I had a wedding for my girlfriend's work friend. So I'm like, of course it's going to break right as I'm on the terrace out there, which it did. But yeah, Trick Kirchner.
Was it during the complimentary happy hour?
It was, yes, the hors d'oeuvres part where they walk around with you're eating way too many spinach, whatever they were, spanakopita type things.
Grab it while you can.
With the toothpicks. I mean, it's the most classic of all.
That leads you in. It wets your palate for the chicken or steak option that is to come.
And you feel bad. Like, you got these people walking around with these appetizers. You can't really tell them no. It's their whole job, and they taste good. So, So Trent Kirchner, Minnesota native, Fulda, Minnesota, grew up a Vikings fan. I think his first job in sports out of college was like interning for the Twins. So the fact that he, as a Seattle Seahawks vice president of player personnel or what have you, gets to come home and try to put together a winning team for the organization he grew up rooting for is sweet. And then Andrew Healy, I've done a lot of work on over the last 3 days for a story that hopefully I can write by tomorrow if the brain's working well enough.
Feature season.
But he is a fascinating individual. He was an economics professor at Loyola Marymount, who the Browns hired in 2016 as part of their entry into kind of the research analytics space. And, I would say he is a football guy in terms of he can talk history of the game at a really, really deep level. So 2 really good hires, and then they made 2 more yesterday, and it's, I'd say, good to see Nolan Teasley gets to put his stamp on things.
Yeah, so the way that it's kind of framed, I can't, as soon as you start saying MIT and football, I'm trying, that kind of gets into that analytics conversation.
Of course.
And later on the show, I have Pete Najarian coming in, and it's just, I feel like sometimes we overthink that. And we've had these conversations 9 to noon. What does it really mean? Is it just tendencies, all of those things? I mean, I think that the numbers have immense value. I think the teams have, derived various proprietary processes and how to deliver them. I think it's absolutely different from some of the other sports that we can more closely touch and feel those analytics, quote unquote.
No doubt.
I just feel sometimes we're overthinking it. It's good to have a really, really freaking smart dude in there that can help parse data and deliver this and communicate it as part of a grander process.
Yeah, like, I would say 2 things. One, Andrew Healy very much understands the complexity of football data compared to other sports. That's become abundantly clear through the conversations that I've had. Number two, it's all it is just trying to provide the main decision maker with as much information as possible.
Yeah.
As much good information as possible. That's what the scouts do. That's what the data side does. And you look at some of the best organizations in the NFL, Philadelphia, Seattle, those teams are very data forward. And so I would just say, I don't expect Nolan Teasley to make decisions based on data. I do expect him to make decisions based on the best information he can get.
Yeah.
And that's why you hire a guy like Andrew Healy, who on Friday, I would tell you, when I first heard that name, a couple people were like, I don't know if the Browns are going to let him out. Like, I don't know if the Browns, they don't want to lose this guy. So it was definitely a hire that grabbed the attention throughout people across the league.
Now, another name that has grabbed the attention of many Vikings fans, and it's you saw this too as Teasley's made changes, Jamal Stevenson moving on, some others. Again, in lieu, and we talked about this a bit on Friday, in lieu of being in the room and absolutely understanding who made the decision, here's what we have. We got a bad draft. Draft didn't work. Mm-hmm. Everybody associated with that draft is now the boogeyman. And Jamal, for a lot of outsiders, despite nearly a quarter century with the team, I'm sure he was part of some really good drafts too.
Yeah.
And worked his way up to his spot. But Brian Grigson would be a part of that conversation now. Now enter, by the way, Ryan Pace, former Bears general manager. And Vikings fans, we're going to sink our teeth into it immediately and go, Ryan Pace? Isn't he the guy that couldn't figure out the quarterback position in Chicago, which had been, basically until now, we'll see, and I think they figured it out, but that that was your number one job. That was your only job in Chicago. If you accomplished nothing else, but you figured out that position, you were in a good spot. He couldn't do it. I think there was some Trubisky terrorism, maybe some, why am I completely losing it
Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. There we go. So now he's out of the mix and he's back. And he's back with the Vikings as an advisor. What is he advising?
Yeah, I first of all, he was a general manager, so he knows the dynamics of what Nolan Teasley, of the seat that Nolan Teasley sits in. So whether it's how to handle a certain contract negotiation, whether it's how to handle a certain media component, whether it's how to manage certain disgruntled staff or coaching staff. Like, if there's any advice that Nolan Teasley needs to seek from just kind of like someone who would understand the dynamics, he can then defer to Ryan Pace, who is an advisor. I would also say I get a kick out of whether it is Ryan Grigson or Ryan Pace or any former GM who had bad drafts or bad picks or got fired, that like they are the worst person ever and not, they shouldn't be anywhere near an organization. Like, I think there are bad evaluators, certainly, but I also think like you're going to miss when you do this long enough because it's the most inexact science thing ever. And so to pin someone individually for a bad draft, I think is just it lacks so much context and nuance. And that's not to take up for these guys because you get hired and fired for a reason. But I do think there is value to just people who have sat in the seat and understand the complexities of certain situations. So, like, I don't expect Ryan Pace's evaluation of a quarterback, if the Vikings are seeking another one in future years, to, like, be the decision that drives what the Vikings do.
But he has an ear, and
no doubt
he might have a voice.
No doubt.
Has there ever been any conversation or thought in your head where, and clearly as close to the Vikings as you are in reporting, as close to the Vikings that I am as just a rube, and I talk about them on the radio for a living. Has there ever been any conversations about, like, man, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, like, and how normal or how prevalent this is throughout the NFL, where we are seeing the advisors, we're seeing the add-ons, the asides, and kind of building that room. And again, in a vacuum, this feels normal, but I don't know. Maybe maybe you don't know.
No, I'd say it's pretty normal. Like the collaboration. I mean, you think about John Schneider in Seattle. I mean, we can just say that he's one of, if not the best general manager in the NFL.
Not to clump. I just found this out a couple days ago. I didn't know that he went to St. Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Wisconsin native, like De Pere or something like that.
Yeah.
Went to Wisconsin, went to St. Thomas. So we had a Tommy, and he worked with Kirchner, a Johnny.
100%.
I don't know how they got along, to be honest with you.
It also makes you wonder, how did the Vikings, and I've heard that, like, when they hired Fran Foley, I think in 2006, like, John was there, could have, might have been. So it's one of those.
That's a tough conversation.
That's 20 years ago, turning points for the organization. But to your initial question.
Collaboration and such, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, like, I think it's very normal. And in organizations where the results are good, who gets the credit? The general manager gets the credit. But if you don't think they have their group of advisors who they counsel all the time, like, I think that's, overlooking how some of these teams operate and work. So I think it's very normal. I think as part of the cooks in the kitchen, you have to have pretty strong, at the final chef overseeing that meal going out, like, they have to have a really good pulse and fingerprint on what's happening. And I can tell you that Nolan Teasley will have that based upon what I understand of how he's going to operate.
I dig that. You think Kyler and JJ are just hanging out in various exotic destinations, or are they grinding right now? I mean, it's time off. It's time to chill. You're in feature season. I'm talking about the World Cup a lot over the next so many weeks here, right? And we're all just finding our way throughout the summer to get to training camp. What do you think those QBs are doing in the midst of the competition?
I hope they take some time off. Like, this isn't...
Yeah, grab a week.
Yeah. Why? I mean, like...
Grab a couple.
I mean, definitely throw and work out, but, like, they are human beings. Yes. But I will say, all seriousness, I think part of the reason Kevin O'Connell provides this competition or continues it into training camp is to add fuel throughout this time. Otherwise... who knows what happens? But I fully expect Kyler Murray to be studying full stop and in the playbook and mimicking the footwork and the drops and all that stuff. And I fully expect J.J. McCarthy to be highly motivated entering training camp. So, hopefully they hit Cabo for a little bit, but probably not too long.
Well, I want them to go and, enjoy a couple of beverages, soak in the sun.
You can't go wrong with some beverages underneath the sun.
No, correct. And then get back to work. And you mentioned it, they're human beings too. As we sit back and we can't touch and feel anything, and we're in this off time, you just anticipate that they're just machines, right? They are not human beings. That they are in the playbook, eating Cheerios while reading it in the morning, all the way through grabbing a bowl of ramen before bed, and they got the iPad rolling until midnight and wash, rinse, repeat the next day. But it can't be that way. But the fact that this hasn't been solved, and now we have 6 weeks to think about it. It's 6 weeks to think. I wonder what Kyler's up to today. I wonder what JJ's up to today.
It would be fascinating to know, but like, it is funny because I've seen people say, like, I bet Kyler will be playing video games. Like, yeah, I bet at 9 p.m.
Probably.
On a Wednesday night he will be, because, like, that's what 28-year-olds do. That's how it works.
Sounds awesome.
Regardless of, like, I could be grinding on a feature on a Wednesday, but at 8 p.m., I guarantee you, I'm going to be doing something ridiculous.
Laptops down.
That's how it works. That's how human beings. But no, I do expect and believe that they will both work with Justin Jefferson at some point somewhere. And I do know they are both very motivated.
Yeah.
And I think that was the purpose of this as a competition from the outset. I'm reading a book right now, on kind of like the arc of Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. And in the book last night, I'm reading how much Trey Lance motivated Jimmy Garoppolo when he first got there. And so I do think you can understand why Kevin O'Connell would believe that this competition would maximize whoever ends up starting come the season.
Oh, they couldn't help themselves. Kyle and Isanti just texted, are Kyler and JJ playing two-player co-op or head-to-head?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great text. I mean, it's a phenomenal text. But I do think, I consistently think the video games thing is funny, because it's like, the alternative could be much worse.
Yes.
Like,
could be much different.
And again, anyone 20, I'm 29 or younger, you're probably playing FIFA at 9 p.m. or call, like that's just what it is if you're this age. So now if you're doing it in the middle of the day when you should be working with your 7-step drops and play action high crossers to Jordan Addison, that's probably a problem. Otherwise, it's okay.
I just can't wait for them to get back to camp and see this thing come to fruition.
I mean, we'll be back.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, that's going to be the best expose to the summer right there.
The picture of the practice field. We're back.
We're back. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. Shows on the perch and just all the frivolity that goes along with that. Let's do this. Let's pause, and then when we come back, I want to hit you with it is Vikings. It's one of those. It's not going to happen, but still. A little bit in the news connected to the Minnesota Vikings, and you did something that all of us are super appreciative of. You created your mid-June Final 53.
I mean, sometimes you just got to do it.
You have to, and this is as we would say, right to change. But early, I like it.
I felt good about it.
I'm ready for week 1. I'm ready for this.
Sure. I'll text it to Teasley and see what we can do.
But you put the answer key out on The Athletic, and we're going to run through it. Alec Lewis of The Athletic is in studio. Brett Blakemore is with me, and it's football in all forms, 9 to noon today, because we'll continue throughout the first hour chatting Vikings and NFL with Alec Lewis. But then at 10 a.m., Matt Van Benschoten and Johnny Business. John Bisworm, they're in studio. A couple buddies of mine, both affiliated with a certain training academy in the Minneapolis Metro, as well as Minneapolis City SC. We're going to chat World Cup. We're going to chat youth development and kind of party it up. Soccer in the summer, once every 4 years. Just give it to me, ladies and gentlemen. It's World Cup time, and I'm obsessed with it. And then at 11 a.m., Pete Najarian is going to join me in studio. We got Gophers connections. We got NFL days. We have finance guru, some fun topics to chat with Pete about. And that's the TimberTech set list brought to you by TimberTech.com. TimberTech.com, doing decking differently. When we return, more with Alec Lewis, Nordo in for PA on the Fan.
You're listening to Eric.
And that's a fact.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? And we'll go out there, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Welcome back. Nordo in for PA. Alec Lewis in here. This kind of popped in my head totally organically during the break. You know, we have spent so much time, and we're going to continue to do it. What are Kyler and JJ doing this season? And depth on the edge. And I think that in some ways Brian Flores is ascending to almost like deity status. Very much untouchable in terms of conversation. And we just say whatever we throw at him. Yeah, it's Flores. Flores is going to figure it out, right?
I told somebody that yesterday. It's like it's just the assumption of like, yeah, the defense will figure it out. Yeah. You're like, but like, what is the safety situation? And what if the defensive tackles? But like, yeah, it'll probably be good because he'll be blitzing his butt off.
Yeah, blitzing 38%. How about 48%? And he's happy to do it. He is fearless. With that said, my point is that we spend so much time breaking down this team, and there's one thing that we almost never talk about. Mm-hmm. How does Kevin O'Connell get better? How does Kevin O'Connell improve as a coach? And it's a guy that I have immense amount of respect for. But he has kind of entered that stage too, where we just talk about things or refer to him in certain ways where, I think it's fair to note that this team has been imperfect over the course of his tenure. And I'm glad he's our coach, and I'm looking forward to watching him get better. But does that ever float through your brain, the axons and the dendrites and the neurons firing in terms of, we're worried about this competition right now at QB, but man, the run game here, man, decision making here, man, just kind of the nuances of the game. and a guy that has created an incredible foundation of culture within that building. The guy that's also won a fair number of games, guy that's dealt with some some adversity, I should say, at the QB position and has, worked his damnedest to figure out and maneuver through it. But still, in the end, imperfect. And I think the coach needs to improve just as much as the team needs to improve. That's I think that's an all-in type of thing, all-inclusive thing, I should say.
I think that's a phenomenal, I think that's a phenomenal conversation to have. And I would think / hope that Kevin O'Connell would love having that conversation. You really, because we talk about the players and their improvements all the time, you'd hope that the accountability of the coach would be the same circumstance. And so if you ask me where, the areas I think he can improve, I think there's a lot of areas. I think from a play calling, sequencing standpoint, I still think that's an area that the more time you do it, the better you're probably going to get at it.
Yeah.
I think from a system adaptability standpoint, I think it's really hard. On the outside, you're tweak the system, make it easier. These systems are, I guess the best way I know how to use an analogy is it's almost like a professor teaching a course. To just throw out the entire course that you've always taught.
Yeah.
Professors don't do that, but you can adapt certain lessons and you can, and so I think from an improvement standpoint there, I think from how they train the offensive linemen and the practice habits of that group, why it took 4 years to get to what it feels like it is right now, I think is a very valid question. That
you love the intensity of what you saw at minicamp. I'm glad you brought that up because you went out of your way this thing is different, man, with Keith running it.
And I'm not doing that because someone said to me, hey, Alec, make sure people know the intensity is different. I'm just objectively looking at it. Yeah. These guys are working their butts off at a level that I have not seen at this time of year since I've covered the team. But again, that does raise the question for me of why did it take 4 years to make that adaptation and adjustment? And I think that's a very fair question to ask. So whether it's play calling on 3rd and 1, whether it's, not as many 7-step drops that's all on the quarterback and having a more balanced off. I think there are a lot of areas there. So the conversation to me is very valid and important.
So the text messages that I'm getting now, I'm not going to read them, but they are, I knew that would happen. But to the idea of the play calling in particular, that's where some of these are going. How do I live in two worlds where there is he needs somebody else to call the plays, or he's not calling the right plays? You've heard these overtures, comment section in The Athletic. They pay for the subscription. They have a right to talk. And so you've seen all those arguments about it. I didn't like this run in this spot. I didn't understand why everything there are, it's not everything, but we can be hyperbolic here. Everything's a 7-step drop and a deep throw.
Yeah, that's
is there any happy medium here, Coach? You're in love with your own plays, Coach. You've heard those sorts of things.
Of course.
So that can be, on one hand, it can be immediately extinguished. What would you do? It can be immediately extinguished. You never played the game. You never coached. You don't understand the philosophy of the scheme. This play actually, if given a half tick, because the right guard got beat like a turnstile, then that play is open. You can explain your way through that negativity, right? And because in the end, the texters here, Rubes on X and social media, comment section on The Athletic, they are fans. So they're outsiders looking in. So you can explain it away. But on the other hand, the Rube, the fan, the dude that just wants his team to win, guys and gals, I should say.
Yeah.
Gals love football too. That they are seeing something not work. They are seeing inadequacies in offense. They have a right to question that part of, you know what I mean? So you're kind of split. It's like,
no doubt.
I don't, hey, Nords, you don't get it. You're just a Rube. You're on the outside. You don't call plays. You're 100% correct. But I do know that thing didn't work. Yeah. And I just wonder what the process is to get to that thing and if there are potentially alternatives. And I'm glad you mentioned sequencing because I think flow is something for me that it is going to require reps. And, it can be frustrating to watch a guy evolving and learning just as we're watching and rooting. But I kind of see that even through 4 years. I still see that evolution with KO taking place.
Yeah, it's even from the media standpoint, it's difficult because in the aftermath, when you ask, whether it's publicly on the microphone or privately, like what went into that specific play call, there is a detailed decision-making process, whether it's the probabilities that they would play cover 3 on this 3rd and long situation, recommended that we run this specific concept, and then they flip their personnel, and so it changes, what the probability should have been. Like there is a finite level of detail in terms of the decisions that are made, but also the results being, when the results are poor, you have a right to question or to second guess. So, I'm of the opinion that with that stuff, you got to be very even-handed with it. You have to be very objective. I think fans have every right to say, whatever they want. That's what makes it great.
Absolutely.
That's why this place is a special group of fans and why this organization, it holds the people to a very high standard. But, no, I would imagine if you sat with Kevin O'Connell, a fan did, and they won some raffle and they get to have dinner with them or what have you, he would say, and you would hope, just like with Kyler saying he embraces the discomfort, you would hope the coach would be the same way, where he would tell you he needs to grow in that area, and you would hope that is backed by action and work and all of that. I feel like that's a very fair, spot to hold anybody to.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just it seems like that's a conversation topic that doesn't find its way to the front burner very often.
It doesn't, and it's critical. And you could even talk about the work with the front office and the collaborative ability there, and how that and growth in that area. I mean, there's a lot of, just like with any of us in our jobs, if we're really honest about it, there are these areas that are less comfortable or less natural, and you gotta improve and spend the time to actually do it if you really want to. So
yes, good is the enemy of best.
Yeah,
that's what Chad Abbott says.
I mean,
continuous improvement.
And who better to take advice from in this area?
No, that's 100%. That's why he's been here for as long as he has been, and that's why we adore him. It's just I feel like sometimes as a fan and somebody that talks about this team as often as we do 9 to noon. And you get it with your access, and I get it from my position, how much I love it. So it's not necessarily a complaint, but it does feel like we're stuck in this mode right now, as many teams are in the NFL, trying to get over that hump. Like PA and I were talking about kind of when and how. What's it going to take? And the answers to the how are pretty clear, right? Like more organic via the draft, and these guys that we just drafted have to be good, by the way. And then a year from now, when Teasley gets his first class, those guys got to be pretty damn good again. And you can see where that path will take us from there. But we're not talking about Snead and collaboration. You know what I mean? I think that's why fans get frustrated with it. I think that's why they get tired of it. I think that's why they look at guys like Grigson or, hey, you guys just brought a failed GM in to be an advisor. Well, that's great. The teams that are where the Vikings want to be, you're not hearing about all of that, unless it's about the Teasleys of the world getting new big opportunities based on the success of that team.
Sure.
You haven't been worried about John Schneider and his advisors and his collaboration. I just know that the former St. Thomas dude has built 2 different Super Bowl teams. That's all you talk about.
Yeah.
But here it is the collaboration. It's the cascading of the information and the processes. And I think fans get, and I can speak to it. It gets old for me too. It's just like, go out there and play the freaking games.
Someone said to me, I was on the phone yesterday with somebody in the league, and they're like, I would wonder if you remove the quarterback situations in Philadelphia, or Philadelphia, which is an esteemed front office in everyone's eyes, and let's just say like the Cleveland Browns, and you just remove the quarterback, or you replace it with a similar quarterback level, like how would that dictate how those front offices are then perceived? And I just thought, whether it's true, whether it would change things at all, like I do think there is such a fine line from a result standpoint of what the narrative and the perception ultimately becomes, and it's pretty fascinating to really to think about that. But again, like I say it all the time, fans especially here when you haven't gotten the results, you have every right to avoid whatever nuance and context is the real truth, to be very critical. Like, that is, you should, to hold the people to a high standard. Like, I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he's like, you always talk about process and structure. And I'm like, yeah, because I want to see this place get to the place that they've never been. So I feel like it's my job to hold accountable the processes to allow it to get to that place. And if I don't do that, then I'm not doing the job the right way. So I thought you can probably hear to my voice, like, this conversation is one that I've considered a lot and has rolled through my mind at times while I'm watching the smoothness probably of the World Cup.
Yeah, you've sat in the car, you got Jersey Mike's in your lap, and
Absolutely.
You're waiting for another practice, and you're like, man, if they get here, then we don't have to talk about this. This just works. And now we are hoisting something of value, of success, feeling that success.
The funny thing is, you've set that scene. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting at Jersey Mike's in my car. I'd gotten it to go, and car parks right next to me. It's like a black Lexus SUV.
Sweet.
And out walks Ziggy Wilf.
Oh, hey, Ziggs.
Just walks right into Jersey Mike's by himself, grabs a sub, and I'm thinking, like, and it does. It spurs thought of where this team is and can go.
Did you roll down the window?
No.
You have just like a piece of lettuce in the crook of your mouth.
Yeah, I've got the oregano that they sprinkle all over it in my teeth. Oregano.
Hold on a second.
I just said, hold a second. Hold on a second. Oh my goodness.
No! Beautiful.
That's
just after. Hey, Mr. Wilf. Hey, it's me, Alec. Just like the Teasley presser over here, Mark.
Yeah, Mark, over on your right, 5 rows up, the athletic Alec Lewis.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, looking to get there. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause, come back. I'm going to hit you with this supplemental draft bit, and then I want to look through your final 53 in mid-June for a game that starts in September, and we'll put a wrap on this thing. All right, Alec?
Okay.
That's Alec Lewis of The Athletic. I'm Nordo in for PA. More around the corner, 9 to noon.
You're listening.
You can join Nordo and KFAN, who you're listening to right now, for a Team USA watch party this Friday. Where is it, Nords?
It's at Dugarell's in Hastings. Dugarell's in Hastings. Alec Lewis of The Athletic got to know a little bit about Hastings recently, so he
nice
knows
little town.
It's a beautiful town, great community, and we're going to love on Team USA Friday at 2 p.m. at Dugarell's. Pump it up, drink specials, and I think it's Mick Ultra. I mean, it's going to be an absolute blast, and off that 4-1 drubbing that the Americans, the Yanks, put on Paraguay. I'm hoping they do that to the Aussies. And Alec, I mean, where are you at with Team USA? You think they have a good chance on Friday? Please break down the.
What do you think the formation is that Poch is going to roll out?
They're rolling with the 3 on the back end, so it gives them 3 center backs, and then it allows them to. No, I will say
you weren't entirely wrong.
I don't care if. Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm not.
It starts with 4, but it's effectively 3.
I do a little reading in my time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anyone thinks of this opinion. The World Cup and the ability, it is such a easy watch.
Yeah.
Like, even if you despise soccer, and you just have it on the TV at 2 p.m. during the day, and it's just smooth out on the TV. It's great. And the culture of it, the passion of it, I'm trying to convince people to get on the World Cup bandwagon. And they probably don't care, and they're not going to hop aboard with me, but I'm trying.
I stand alone. It's I'm not necessarily alone. There are many that agree, but many more that disagree. It's my favorite sporting event in the world. It's my favorite. Just from seeing the culture, seeing the diversity and just learning so much about, just little island nations you've never thought about before.
Ivory Coast, I mean.
How about Ivory Coast? You never thought about Ivory Coast.
I mean, I did when Didier Drogba was on Ivory Coast.
There we go. What about Yaya Toure?
No, you got it.
Elite Dropopole, though. I love that.
Thank you.
Back to Dugarell's, Hastings at 2 on Friday. You going to be with me for that, Brett?
I may or may not be with Tennessee, so
he's not going to be there.
That's a complete L. All right, well, we'll talk about that off air, Brett. That's a problem. Supplemental draft. This is in the world of not going to happen, but still. I was reading this guy on the Mothership's website, Ben Solak, and he kind of wrote about this. You've watched you've seen the Brendan Sorsby saga unfold. 9,000 bets he was placing, and at least 40 of them, I think, when he was at Indiana, were actually on the team. I don't think he was playing at the time, but it feels like he has some inside intel potentially.
You would imagine so.
Yeah, and so he's granted an injunction to return, and actually he's eligible to play at Texas Tech. But maybe there's kind of some off-field pressure around the program. Like, this ain't going to work. Like, yes, technically you can play, but this is going to be a mess. So you got to go. So he is making himself available for the supplemental draft. Ben Solak wrote this on ESPN. Minnesota secure a QB for 2026. Kyler Murray in town on a one-year deal to refurbish his career and right Kevin O'Connell's sinking ship. Ooh.
The sinking ship?
Sinking ship? Oh, come on, Ben. But at any rate, and this is not about Ben. I don't know Ben, but this is what he wrote. If Murray is a successful veteran quarterback, the Vikings will be faced with the same question they answered last offseason when they let Darnold sign a deal with the Seahawks to give McCarthy the reins of the offense. Sorsby, with him in the building all year, O'Connell could get a long look at his potential as a QB1 challenger in 2027 should Murray play his way into a bigger deal elsewhere. So the Sorsby thing is fascinating to me from a betting angle, and then there have been some people that have tried to connect Sorsby to the Vikings. I don't know what to make of it. You have any opinion on that whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't asked anybody internally what their thoughts are on Brendan Sorsby, so I'll just say that from the very get-go here.
I don't even think does the supplemental draft even happen every year?
I don't believe it does.
I don't think it does.
And I do think he has to apply for the supplemental draft, and then they have to deem him eligible for that, which hasn't been cleared. I think some people expect it to be. Two different things, and then, whatever, we can segue, but I watched the film the other night of 3 games of him. It was like 180 plays, and I can see the allure. I mean, he is he's 6'3", 230, big-bodied guy, really athletic. They used him in the run game at Cincinnati a bunch. Really like creative arm, can get the ball up and down, creative arm angles. So he is physically very talented. I have more questions probably with the processing speed, with throwing the football over the middle, with anticipation, playing in rhythm, all of that, beyond all the off-field stuff that any team's going to have to sift through. I've asked multiple people in the league, evaluators, they are pretty high on him. The expectation for people in the league is that there will be a team that probably does use a second or third supplemental pick on him if he is indeed in it. For the Vikings, I think adding another layer of drama at the quarterback spot, I just don't know if that's the best path for the organization. But if they internally deem him a first-round caliber talent that they can develop for a year, at that position, that would be one of the reasons you'd be okay with it. So,
well, I mean, we got Kyler and JJ and Carson.
I mean, to throw Brendan Sorsby in this.
And Max is in there, too.
Max is in there.
How's Max going to get his reps if we continue to muddy the waters?
Can you imagine Josh hey, guys, and you're dealing with Kyler, JJ, Sorsby. I mean, it's just a lot going on. That is a lot going on.
You have a lot going on with your mid-June Final 53. And I just want to run through this. I got a few questions, and then we'll put a wrap on this thing. So 3 QBs, you landed on Kyler, JJ, and Carson all being part of the mix.
I did.
So competition, however that folds, however that unfolds, all 3 of them are going to be here. And again, mid-June with a right to change. Damon Claiborne over Xavier Scott.
Yeah.
The things you've seen, maybe change of pace, kind of a different kind of back maybe than an Aaron Jones and certainly a Jordan Mason. You like Damon making the team.
Yeah, he just moves different. Like, I don't know how else to say it. He is like, I mean, he's just electric.
When's the feature season going to come out and explain how he fell to the 6th round?
Well, I wrote a story on him, but it was very much like the people who got him to this place, husband and wife. As far as why he fell, I don't know. That might be a down the road type of conversation. But
I get you.
No, I do think there's a reason the Vikings were okay doing it. Part of it is knowing you have him alongside Aaron Jones in the room every day, who's one of the best guys in the NFL. So that's part of it.
Max Bredesen makes the team as the baby use check.
Sure.
Okay, fullback, H-back, however you want to frame it up. 6 wide receivers, and there's a question with this. So we got our big 3. We know who those are with Jefferson, Addison, and Juwan Jennings. But then you roll with Ty Felton, second year in the league, chance to potentially contribute more. Dylan Bell, I want to learn about him.
Yeah.
Does Miles Price have to do more than just be a returner? Like, how can he expand his presence and really define, or I should say expand his role to the point beyond just kind of taking a wideout spot on the roster with maybe limited utility when it comes to actually being on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I would say this spring he's taken a lot of receiver snaps and reps in some of the 7-on-7 stuff, and he looked pretty good doing it. So that was important probably to see. I mean, I remember there was a game late last season. I don't remember which one where they had him on offense and handed him a jet sweep, and you're like, is Miles Price out there? And why is that happening? And that hasn't happened before, and it's not happening since then. So maybe he could be kind of a versatile weapon. You really would prefer not to just roster, even though the kick return play has obviously become an important play, as Seattle showed throughout the back half of the season with that acquisition. But I don't know. I'll be curious to see in training camp where Miles Price lines up, how much at receiver, and what that looks like.
Okay, I dig that. We finally get to see Gavin Bartholomew as you put him as a member of the tight end room with Hawk and then Josh Oliver. Baby carrot guy, you're a sec. He's out the door. You have him getting cut. But Gavin Bartholomew, who had a back thing, I believe, last year that really just negated his entire rookie campaign. Gavin, young and potentially good. What do we think?
Yeah, the tight end 3 position is a question mark for me, whether it is Bartholomew, whether it is Ben Urasek, one of your favorites.
His grandfather did do the baby carrot, right? I
believe so. Yeah, okay. I mean, you've been on this from the get-go. I
love baby carrots.
I said this on the podcast yesterday. I haven't heard that they would be willing to do something here, but if the Vikings did add more veteran depth for that tight end 3 position, I would probably be in support of that, because Hawkinson and Oliver have gotten hurt in recent years. Yeah. And if they do, and if you're planning on using 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, I just feel like you need a little more reliability there. So maybe Bartholomew establishes himself. I don't know how convicted I would be in that spot.
Yeah, and it's not as marquee worthy as the QB competition, but to note, this will be a competitive element of training camp, certainly.
Yeah, and they added, yesterday, I think, a former undrafted guy, Marshall Lang, who had been with the Seahawks, so Nolan Teasley would have some familiarity. So, I fully expect that position to come with a lot of competition in camp.
Vandemark, Huber, and Tiernan. So starting 5 is going to be Mr. Darisaw into Donovan Jackson, into Brandel, into Fries, into O'Neal. So that's no change. But you went with 9. Walter Rouse, as much as he's tried, as of now, you're feeling that his time here may be coming to an end. He might get a chance to latch on elsewhere. But Tiernan, the draft pick, he's not going anywhere. Juergens, we need some center support in case something goes wrong. Vandemark, new guy from the Bills, and Joe Huber. Joe Huber, one of the 50 different O-linemen that got a chance to play games that count last year for the Purple, the former Badger.
Yeah, he was an undrafted guy out of Wisconsin, and I thought he stepped in London, I believe, against the Browns, against a pretty good defensive line.
And he did his thing. I think he comported himself well. Yeah,
I thought he was pretty good. I remember seeing him a couple days before that game, hopping a subway in London with Darisaw and some people. But yeah, he's a good guy. I've heard good things in terms of how they feel about him. That's so good. From a depth perspective, that just made sense.
On the defensive side, you have 6 D tackles, but Pete Bursich is going to be frustrated with this because Taki Taimani, as he pronounces him on the broadcast, or Taki Taimani, you have him out. And my guy's going to be mad. PA's annoyed because Smith Vilbert?
Is PA a big Smith Vilbert guy?
I think he's a big Smith Vilbert guy. I think you like saying Smith Vilbert.
I would love to ask him what he prefers about the technicalities of Smith Filbert, and that would be
ask that.
That would be a fun conversation to just hear about. But yeah, the defensive tackle one, I'd say for me, outside of quarterback, tight end 3, defensive tackle, edge rusher depth, and then safety configuration. Like that's where my mind floats around with this team into training camp.
No, I like that. And maybe next week or weeks beyond, I mean, we're all going to have our time off and everything around holidays and stuff. But one of the next times you're in, kind of the part of the when and how conversation that PA and I were having, like somebody's got to jump. And there are some names there within the defensive interior. You know, you look at Jalen Redmond and Javon Hargrave now with the Pack. He's talking about how this is a place you couldn't produce. Well, you know, Jalen Redmond with his 6 or 7 sacks, with his 5 passes defense.
He produced okay.
There was productivity there. And it's just, we got a lot of young kids. And as part of the when and how this team making a leap, you need one of those kids to make a jump, to splash, right? And so I want to dig deeper with you on that at a later date.
Yeah,
now,
I mean, the Caleb Banks one is, I mean, that in terms of training camp,
yeah.
I mean, it's quarterback, and then what is he bringing to the table from the very get-go?
I turn heads. I can't wait to see him healthy and on the field. Edge, this kind of, I mean, this feels like you just kind of ran out of names, to be honest with you, if you have a vengeance against Tyler Batty.
Sure.
But you put, of course, Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner, and then Bo Richter, Chaz Chambliss, and a free agent. A free agent addition. I was going to ask you if there was a position you might think about adding into camp.
Yeah, it's edge
kind
rusher.
Of answers itself, right?
It's edge rusher. If there was an odds board for it, it'd be minus.
Heavily favored.
Yeah, I mean, again, Van Ginkel's gotten hurt in past years, and he's obviously a year older.
Yep.
So if you lose him,
might be last year of his deal too.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, he's a phenomenal player.
Not that would mitigate the idea of re-signing.
Sure.
Yeah, my bad.
Like, it's not to take away from Andrew Van Ginkel, but the odds are probably there's a probability he gets hurt.
Yep.
And so then what happens? You move Dallas Turner over to that spot because he knows he can play in coverage a little bit. Then who's replacing that other position? Are you comfortable with your edge rushers being Bo Richter and Dallas Turner? I personally wouldn't be. So finding a guy who is a free agent who has sacked the quarterback in his past would probably be very optimal.
No, I like that. I do indeed agree with you there.
And they've got money to do it.
Dallas Turner's another guy that needs to jump. That's part of the when and how.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need...
Year 3, let's go, buddy.
Yeah, you're going to need somebody next to Jalen Redmond, whether it's Dallas Turner, Caleb Banks, to really, come on.
Linebacker's pretty obvious. It's Cash and Wilson with Pace Jr. behind him, and then Golday. Mm-hmm. Real quick on this, though, what is Golday's best early path to getting on the field? Is it special teams?
Yeah, special teams, and then off the ball linebacker will be his entry. And then, over the course of time, in the best case scenario, he shows a versatility to do everything.
Yeah.
In somewhat of the Van Ginkel mold. But they're not going to try to put him in the Van Ginkel spot from the outset because, newsflash, very few people can be in that spot and actually look like Andrew Van Ginkel.
It ain't Cincy, Mr. Golday. But we're looking forward to the growth.
Yes.
You got Chuck Demings. How about Chuck Demings and Samaya Vaughn as part of your James Pierre, Murph Jr., and Rogers group?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Chuck Demings has looked pretty athletic and has made plays on the ball this spring. And then, Samaya Vaughn I've always liked.
Yeah.
That's kind of a personal thing.
Yeah, you feel biased.
Yeah, it is a little biased, but he made a play on the ball the last day of minicamp on a deep pass down the field from J.J. McCarthy to Jay Sean Jones. So I like Samaya Vaughn.
Jay Sean says J.J. underthrew it, but Samaya Vaughn...
he did. He did underthrow the ball, but Samaya Vaughn still made a good play.
He did make a good play. Lastly, and we'll end it here. I mean, it's Reichard, DePaula, it's Johnny Hecker.
Sure.
We know that, but with the safeties, still again, we got tight end. That's a talker. QB, of course, above all, and some others in the mix. The edges and how that looks, but it's safety. Really interested in the evolution of Jay Ward. They love the rookie Jacoby Thomas. Mm-hmm. They're going to cut a guy named Jacob Thomas, and I assume that's merely because of the name confusion potential.
They may not cut him. I mean, he's definitely impressed a little bit.
But no number 22 in the mix. That's going to be part of that conversation. But Jay Ward in particular, like Metellus, I need you to stay healthy. I think they can still be very versatile. I don't think it will look as good without 22. However, I just wonder what Jay Ward's looking like, how he can handle the big step up, because a lot's going to be asked of him. And then of course, what happens with Harrison, we won't know for a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, the other one is Theo Jackson, who took a lot of reps with the first team throughout spring. And so you're like, how well did that go last year? I think there's probably varying opinions on that.
Yep.
But yeah, I do think the Vikings are betting a lot on Brian Flores and the staff being able to work with this entire group.
Deity status.
I can understand that bet because it's worked from the time he stepped in this building with certain personnel, but
they love some of these safeties so much that Harrison Smith, when healthy, was still playing 98% of the snaps. He was still out there
Correct.
all the freaking time.
Yeah, and I'd say the Harrison Smith thing, people are like, I've heard because it hasn't happened, that means he's done. Or no, like I'd say the Harrison Smith thing is very much a TBD, and we will find out in training camp or later. And after the season begins,
I think he's coming back.
I mean, we'll see.
And we'll give him a third swan song goodbye at the end of the season.
And then it'll be like, yeah, he's not ready to go yet. And then 44 years old, and he's not ready to go yet. He's doing this new stretching routine.
Might be the year. We'll see. You are awesome, man. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to, it sounds like some work you're doing in terms of Andrew Healy. And
if the brain's working throughout today, there's going to be an extensive story on what Andrew Healy brings and who he is. I asked somebody, or I should just say, our Browns writer, I was like, what do you know about Andrew Healy? He's like, I don't know. He's one of those like nerdy looking guys standing down there on the sidelines. And then you dive into the story and you're like, there's a little bit more to this guy we should probably know about. Probably shouldn't have said that.
Well, it's feature season, and that's one of the many things you do exceptionally well. So appreciate that. It's Alec Lewis.
Thanks, guys.
Alec_Lewis via X. Follow him there. Subscribe to The Athletic. Follow the YouTube channel for his show as well, The Alec Lewis Show on YouTube. That's it from one side of football. We'll return to it during the final hour with Pete Najarian in studio. But next, there's this thing that happens once every 4 years that I am obsessed with, and I'm going to spend the next hour chatting with a couple of my buddies about it. Matt Van Benscoten and John Bisworm in studio. World Cup, development, local, Crows, all of that is next right here on The Fan.
It's Eric